Why do we eat matzah? Seems like a ridiculous question. What do you mean, why do we eat matzah? We eat matzah because the Jews didn't have time for the bread to rise when we left Egypt. Except, that's not the only answer. How do I know it's not the only answer? One, because the Jews, before they left Egypt, the night before, were told to eat matzah on the 14th of Nisan. They had to prepare the korban and the matzah and then have their seder that night. We know Avraham served his guest matzah, Lot served his guest matzah. So what is it about matzah, this bread of poverty, that is so central to Judaism? Why is it sometimes that at a time we're celebrating freedom and royalty, we celebrate with this broken, poor ingredient piece of bread that has only water and flour, and that is it? To answer this, I want to share with you the story of the great Israeli author and Nobel laureate, Shai Agnon. Shai Agnon was an extraordinary writer. He moved from his town of Buchach in Galicia to Israel in 1908. Then in 1912, he moved to Germany, where he had the good fortune of meeting Zalman Shokin, who had a big publishing house and later opened Israel's largest newspaper, Haaretz. And he basically helped Agnon with a lot of his publishing. Life was good, everything was going well. Things were good for the Agnon family. And in 1924, living in Bad Hamburg, unfortunately, all the goodness that Agnon had been encountering came to an end. Why? A fire burnt his whole house. Some manuscripts he worked on for years, for some full manuscripts. This was before you can back up to the cloud. And it was all gone. Agnon was not able to write a single word for the next 8 months, and he was paralyzed from a literary perspective. But he then decided he's going to leave Germany, move to Israel. Unlike many of his contemporaries who lived in Tel Aviv, Yafo, he decided to move to Talpiot in Jerusalem, where he would sit and write. The burning of his manuscripts seems like the worst tragedy in the world, but actually it was an opportunity for a new beginning. Matzah is an opportunity for us to reconsider, as the Maharal of Prague says, the most basic elements of who we are. When someone's very poor, all they have is themselves, the Maharal says. So really, the matzah is our ability to stop and say, okay, who are we? What are our basics? Now, of course, poverty is not a good thing. And of course, being able to succeed in what you're doing is great. But if being successful is making you forget who you are, then that's a problem. We speak about the 4 sons: the wise, the wicked, the simpleton, and the one who doesn't even know how to ask a question. And it's interesting because the Rabbi Moshe Feinstein and others say that in many ways that's the story of people coming to Israel, to the United States, where the first generation is knowledgeable, they're like the Chacham. The next generation would often rebel like the Rasha against their immigrant parents. The third generation was already a Tam, they didn't know much, and the next one was Sheino Yodel Ishol. So when we speak about matzah, we speak about remembering the core of who we are, remembering our basics, and not sort of floating into a disconnect from who we are and what we are as a people. Chag Sameach.